Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining tonight's training. For anybody who did not get the memo, unfortunately, Do Something Different have had to cancel tonight. They have rescheduled for a couple of weeks' time. So that will be going ahead, but it has just for now been postponed. So tonight you have got me, and I am doing a presentation on selling yourself rather than selling your price. So we have done something similar in the past, but I have changed the direction. So for anybody who thinks this might sound a little bit familiar, it probably does. There is something similar out there. But like I say, I've gone down a slightly different route with it. And certainly for our newer agents, this will be, I hope, a great presentation for you. Hopefully you'll take something out of it. I do also, just while we are recording, very quickly want to totally go off track. The TUI Trade Hub. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. Some of you will not. The TUI Trade Hub is now available in the Travel Cafe under the TUI supplier itself. Within the TUI Trade Hub, where you do have to register, you can get marketing tools in there. You can get incentive updates, see what's going on. It's very much an information website, all sorts in there, but please go ahead. I know some of you have been asking for marketing and things like that from TUI. So please go ahead, make your way to the TUI Trade Hub. As I say, it's in the Travel Cafe, it's under the TUI supplier itself. Tells you exactly how to register in there. I know unless you are actively going, you aren't going to see it. So please go ahead and sign up for that. Hopefully it can answer any questions and things that you may have as well. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So we are selling your value, not just your price, because people buy from people. There is my first mistake. People buy from people. So many of you will have heard this more than once come out of my mouth. But it is very, very true. People really do buy from people. So I'm going to start with a question, and it is a genuine question. I don't expect you to answer, but it is something I want you to think about personally. When was the last time that you discounted a holiday and then immediately felt uncomfortable about doing it? Not uncomfortable in the fact that you have given somebody a discount, but more along the lines of you have just cut your commission, you've wiped out your own value, you've worked so hard on the booking, and you've given so much X amount of money away, but you have still put in that same effort. Now, I've put there, you are not alone. And what I mean by that is, this isn't just us as a home working agent. This is every single type of agent that exists within this industry. And it truly has become a default reaction. And that is where today this presentation has come from. And I am literally going to challenge the way that we look at discounts. The truth of the matter is, you are not here to be the cheapest option. You are here to be the best option. And those two things are completely different. And that's exactly what we're going to explore. Oh, this is what's going on. There we go. Okay, so people buy from people. So let's talk about that. Customers do not wake up in the morning thinking, I want the absolute cheapest holiday that is available, regardless of the risks that surround that. They wake up and what they think is, I don't want my holiday to go wrong. I don't want to make a mistake, and I want this to be worth all of the hard-earned money that I am putting into it. And that is exactly where you guys as agents come in. So people genuinely do buy from the people that they trust. And this can be, if we actually take the travel side of this away and you think of your own personal purchases, you will order from the likes of Amazon because they are trusted. You trust them. You've done it many a time. You will buy from John Lewis, and you will buy from Debenhams. I don't even know if they exist anymore. And you will buy from House of Fraser, and these big brands that you know and that you trust. We as agents are exactly the same type of thing, but we are our own branding. And therefore, we need to build this trust. In order to do that, you absolutely need to sound confident. And people buy from people who make them feel safe. That's exactly why they've come to you rather than just go online. If price was the be all and end all, you would not be part of their conversation. You would not be part of their holiday journey. So when we're then immediately discounting, what we're actually telling the customer is the only thing I bring to the table is cost. And obviously, we all know that that absolutely is not true. So the hidden cost of discounting, which is why this is in black and white. Be honest about what discounting really does. Let's talk about it. So what you're doing is you're lowering your own confidence. The reason that you're lowering your own confidence, the reason that that specific line is in here is exactly relating to that last slide. What you're telling them is that all you can do is try and give them a better price. You're bringing nothing else to the table. You are also attracting price-led customers, and they are much harder to please. If we go off statistics that are floating around, 76% of customers will return to a travel agent. So over 3/4 of people want to come back to an agent. And obviously we want those customers to come back to you. But if you're going in with cost-led prices, then that would also mean that 3/4 of your customers that are coming back to you are always going to be price-led customers. You are also increasing their expectations whilst reducing your personal margin. And of course, you risk becoming that fallback agent rather than the trusted one. So it will, you risk becoming that person of, right, we've checked A, B, C, D, and E. Now we'll go to this agent because last time they were the best price. They discounted and gave us the best cost. And on top of all of that, without realizing, you are training your customers to ask for it again next time. It isn't building the loyalty, it's the value of what you're selling and the value of you that builds the loyalty for your customers. So, what's your real role as an agent? Excuse me, sorry. So, let's redefine what it is that you are actually doing. You aren't just booking a holiday, you are the problem solver. You are the safety net, you are the guide, you are the advocate, and you are a real life human being that answers the phone. You aren't an automated service. You are the person that the customer's going to rely on if their flights were cancelled, if their hotels were overbooked, if the transfers didn't show up, if the luggage were to go missing, if the plans change last minute. The online booking engines do not care and do not have the sophistication to deal with these kinds of things. You personally do. That is what matters. And I think sometimes we just need to remind our customers and reassure them that we do these kinds of things. So we need to sell confidence rather than discount. And it really does change everything. If you do not believe the holiday is worth the price, your customer is never going to believe that either. So instead of saying to a customer, let me see if I can just get it a bit cheaper for you, switch that around and actually let me explain to you why this option works so well for you. And when you can confidently put across why this location is perfect, why this room type, this upgraded room is so worth it, why these flight times are worth paying for, and why this supplier is reliable, price becomes part of the conversation, but not the be all and end all. Silence is powerful as well. After you have presented the customer's itinerary to them and you've presented the value, stop and then let them think about it. The silence will say a heck of a lot as well. Excuse me. Did that just go up too? Oh, Okay, I'll come back to that. So adding value instead of discount. So this is where you can really start shifting the game. So instead of asking, how much can I knock off? Ask, what's going to make this holiday feel effortless? And for those of you that are in the WhatsApp group, you'll have seen a lot of this floating about over the last couple of weeks. Value added extras. Customers remember these kinds of things. So, a couple of examples that you can talk through with your customer: pre booked seats. I've put there so that families can sit together, but that can be for absolutely anybody whatsoever. Extra legroom seats for your taller customers, of course. Airport lounges to really kick off that holiday in a luxury, relaxing kind of way. Private transfers instead of shared coaches. For some airlines, having the baggage included up front and having no surprises that it's going to be an extra 60, 70, 80 pounds per suitcase. Attraction tickets secured before the travel. Doing that instead of discounting really does work. Now, I'm also a complete realist. I am under no illusion. This is not going to happen with 100% of your customers. And I don't think anybody here expects it to. I don't expect it to. But if it can work with 50, 60, 70% of your customers, you are still gaining that trust, that loyalty, and doing things a different way round, building your confidence instead of just going in with a discount. So if you have a customer that comes to you and they say, I've been online and I've got this price, and you are very quick to realize that there's a £50 discount, a £50 price difference, instead of saying, right, let me see if I can take that £50 off. It's actually a lot better for the customer, obviously a lot better for you. Right, okay. So I cannot take that £50 off. However, what I can do is I can pre-book both of your seats for you. You mentioned that you want it, that you like to have a window seat. You mentioned that you like to be towards the front. You mentioned that you like to have an aisle seat, whatever it might be. That is a costing of realistically, on average, £38 for two people, let's say. So you aren't discounting that £50, first of all. What you're telling them is you're going to include a value added extra. It's only worth £38, meaning you're instantly saving yourself £12 discount. But of course, what you're also doing is you're also earning the commission on that £38. So don't get me wrong, again, I'm no illusionist. That could be £3.80. Let's just, put the cards on the table. That may be £3.80. So you saved yourself £12 and you've saved yourself another £3.80. So your £50 is then actually more like in the 30s. Every little bit, not to steal somebody else's branding, but every little bit really does help. It's taken away from a straightforward, yeah, let me see if I can get that £50 off. It's doing it in a different way. It's doing it in a smaller amount of money kind of way. And you are giving the customer something extra. So if you say this clearly, that £50 price difference is forgotten. And you are also, as I say, giving them a value added extra, making their journey smoother as well. These extras can also massively reduce any complaints. They do reduce people's stress. They can make you look proactive and thoughtful. There we go. Excuse me. So, positioning yourself as the expert. I think I've said this to a good few of you now. Customers do not expect you to know everything. What they do expect you to do is be honest. They do expect you to tell them, do you know what? I don't know the answer to that. So I'm going to go away and I'm going to look at it. I would rather take some time to do the research and come back to you with the right information, whatever that might be. This is exactly the same when it comes to pricing. So using phrases such as, this is what usually works best for customers like yourself. From experience, this is where people are happiest. I've seen X make a really big difference to people's holidays. That can pretty much work with any of those things that we've just spoken about there. The airport lounges, the extra legroom, the transfers, the baggage, whatever it might be. Attraction tickets, adding those attraction tickets prior to your holiday. Obviously, again, for us, it is, of course, giving us the commission and things like that. But for that customer, it's going to make a really big difference to their holiday. The reason it's going to make a big difference to their holiday is that they have pre-booked and prepaid, meaning that they aren't taking money out of their own personal spending money on tickets that they do not know the actual cost of once they arrive. It also means that they've got a bit more of a structure to their holiday. So they don't have to wake up wondering what to do on X day, Y day, Z day, because they've already pre-booked these things. They've got a little bit of an itinerary. So I hope you can see where I'm going with that. These small, short stories really do sell. Last month, I had a family who were so glad that they pre-booked their seats. Once they got on board, the flight was completely full, and we heard them talking to a steward. We heard a family talking to a steward, and the mother had been placed with one child, the father had been placed with another child in two totally separate areas of the plane. Something like that. Anything like that, you are telling them. And the truth of the matter is, you might not have had that specific customer, but we absolutely do know that that happens. We know it does. I personally have seen it, which is why I put that specific client in there. And eventually, an older couple, clearly Mr. and Mrs., did end up moving so that they could be sat together. And it was after takeoff. It was about 20-30 minutes after takeoff. Let me tell you, for those 20-30 minutes, whilst after we had taken off and it was safe to take seatbelts off and things like that, the to-in and fro-in between that mother and father and their two children, because that child wanted to be with the mum, but they'd been sat with the dad and vice versa, and they wanted to play together and they wanted snacks that mum had in her bag and all that kind of thing. We all know that it does happen. So using a story like that is only going to work in your favor. You are being authoritative. You are being that expert that they want. And that is where the value comes in. As long as you know more than what that customer knows, they are going to have that trust in you. And handling price pushbacks, but still without discounting. Again, I am not saying that this is going to work 100% of the time, but having these things in the back of your mind, having these kinds of phrases and things like that to be able to play with, to be able to try out on different customers, even if it's doing a little bit of role play with a partner or somebody that you may have in your own personal life. Apologies for sounding again like late night out of hours there, but doing these kind of role plays and things, not so that your partner or whoever it might be can necessarily give you feedback, but even more so to see how it feels for you. Some people will be able to say certain lines and it will just sound like it's rolling off the tongue. Other people will say something and they just don't feel confident in saying it's not their personality, and it won't sound right, and it also won't feel comfortable. So trying these things out, just saying them out loud, you will get to understand what works for you as well. So if you have a customer that says, can you do this any cheaper? What they're rarely saying is that it is too expensive. What they tend to be saying is, actually convince me that I should be paying this, and I need reassurance, and I'm going to be comparing with other hotels or with other destinations or whatever it might be. So instead of, again, instantly going with, I'll tell you what, let me see if I can take anything off it, which we all do. It's our instant reaction. Things that you could try instead. Okay, Mr. Smith, can I ask you, what is most important to you about this holiday? Is it the price or is it the peace of mind? Let's look at where we can make this work best for you. Now, sometimes it is very much going to be the most important thing for me is the price of it, in which case you can actually still steer the course of the conversation. Because what it may then be is, okay, do you think we perhaps need to look at a different destination? Do you think that perhaps we need to look at a property that is a little bit further away from the beach? Do you think that we maybe need to look at bed and breakfast rather than half board? So you still aren't jumping in with the price. It's just being tactical. And again, if you do end up with that person that is adamant on that destination, they are adamant on that accommodation, and they are adamant that they can get that £50 cheaper, then of course it's going to happen. And then we look at what we can do. I think I've mentioned this to people before, certainly on one-to-ones and things like that. If you, as a customer, go on to, let's just use TUI as an example. If you go onto the TUI website and you get yourself a price for 1 week in Spain, etc., you print that off and you walk into a TUI store with it. Bear in mind, this is a TUI holiday and you are walking into the TUI shop with your TUI price. TUI, that travel agent that sat behind that desk, he or she, they are not going to match that price for you. What they are going to do, and they are also going to be tactical about it, is they are going to tell you that they can match that price today, but they do need to charge a £40 service fee. So they're still not actually matching that price. And then what they're saying is that that service fee is in order for them to take on the booking and service that booking for the customer. That customer is then told that they are more than welcome to take their price, go online themselves, and of course book that holiday at the X amount of pounds that they have seen it. But it does, of course, mean that that store, those agents, aren't going to be able to service that booking for them. Now, they're not filling that customer with any kind of horror story or any kind of negativity. They are simply explaining that they are more than happy to provide their personal service for a fee of £40. So again, just something to think of. And literally closing from there, something I want you to remember. You aren't competing with websites. What you are actually competing with is your own personal fear. You're also competing with a customer's fear. Their uncertainty, your uncertainty, and their risk. And of course, your own risk as well. And I've chosen those words very, very particularly. So the customers have a fear of booking on a website and something going wrong. You have a fear of that customer asking you about the price. They have a fear of literally clicking the book button. Have they got it right? Is it 100% that those transfers are included? Does it definitely say that the baggage is included? Is that definitely the right resort for them? You are battling as an agent with the uncertainty of, is this price okay? Is this price good enough? Are they going to be happy with this? The risk side of things, the customer is battling with risks of booking on, let's say, not proper English, apologies, guys. Let's say fake websites, scammy websites, all these spam things that are knocking around at the moment. They don't like that risk. You, on the flip side, battle with the risk of, do I go in at the full price or do I discount it? How do I play this? You also battle with the risk of how to play it when a customer does say that they found things cheaper. But every single time you present yourself and you present your pricing and you do it confidently, every single time you show that customer the knowledge that you've got, every time you show that person your honesty, the fact that you are human, you are beating all of those fears, the uncertainties, and the risk. So you are the reason that these holidays go right, because anything whatsoever that a customer needs, they can physically call you to ask the question, ask for advice, get you to do these things exactly what they want. You are the reason that those customers come back to you, and you are also the reason that any problems get solved. That could be problems prior to departure. I've personally had one very recently where somebody who I booked, I got a notification to say that their accommodation had closed down a couple of, well, 3 or 4 weeks before they travelled. So it could be a problem prior to departure. And obviously, we're there to sort that problem out. If it's a problem whilst a customer is on holiday. So again, I've had an agent who called me up and the customer had arrived in Tenerife and their transfer wasn't there. So we got that dealt with whilst the customer was traveling to their hotel. So whilst they're away, we're also there to sort any problems. And if for whatever reason they've got issues while they're away and they decide that they need to make a complaint upon return, we are also the person that is going to take their complaint and we are going to send it off to the relevant supplier or department or however that might look. So we are the reason that these problems are also getting solved. So what we need to do is we need to stop apologizing, whether that's out loud or within our own heads, for the price. We need to stop leading with the discounts and we need to start leading with our own confidence, our care, our value and our service. When customers trust you as a person, you will find that they stop shopping around as much. That might take a couple of holidays or, a couple of price checks and things like that, but you will find that it happens less and less. And that is exactly how you also build your business. You build it for success and you build it for long term. So that's just some things to think about for you all. It's something that I feel a lot of us get stuck on. We think that the customer wants the best price. We think that the customers are automatically going to shop elsewhere. They are going to look at what we've given them. And again, don't get me wrong, it does happen. Of course it happens. I am not delusional about that. But all of these small things that you can try and all of these things that we've all seen them coming through. We've seen these messages and we've probably had them ourselves. My customer's price is £30 per person cheaper. My customer has said that they can find this a little bit cheaper. What can I do? There's been an instance where the holiday itself was around £100 or £110 commission, and there's a price difference of £60. The agent decided to discount that holiday by the £60. That is no problem whatsoever if you choose to do that. Please don't think I'm saying that that is the wrong thing to do. I'm just trying to get people to look at things a little bit differently. By choosing to take off that £60, obviously that agent had reduced the overall commission amount from what I think was 110 down to £50. When that holiday was then booked, the holiday failed. It wasn't for any specific reason. It is something that I've known to happen in the past. The supplier was not using their own flights. They were using a third-party flight. And sometimes the third-party flights fail to book because they've maybe not been checked throughout the day enough times. They like to make sure that the prices are live and as up to date as possible. So that holiday failed to book. That agent then had to pick up the phone to the supplier, sit on hold, because the first thing it says is, do not rebook this holiday. You never know if anything's been booked in the background. Please do not rebook this holiday. Please call us, find out, what's going on, see if we can rectify it for you. So that agent then sat on the phone to the supplier, had to get through to the right department, had to wait in the queue, had to explain the situation. The supplier, of course, have had to go away, check if the flights have been booked, check if the accommodation was booked. You know, in the background, they absolutely do have to do that. And then the customer wanted to also, once that was rectified, the customer also wanted to pre-book their seats because it's a third party flight. You can't do that over the phone with the supplier or on the supplier's system. You also have to go onto the the flight system, the third party flight system directly. You have to add them on there, meaning that you also need the flight reference. By the way, this is not made up. I know I'm going on, but this is completely true. This happened not long ago at all. They then had to get back in touch with the customer, choose the seats, tell them the price of the seats, get the card details again, take the payment for the seats, etc., etc. So all in all, I think that took around an extra 90 minutes. This is after that person has taken their commission from 110 instantly down to 50. So that agent is again losing the value and their own self-worth, if you like. If that customer had booked that holiday themselves, the same thing would have happened. The exact same thing would have happened because clearly in that supplier system, they hadn't checked that the price was as up to date as possible, and therefore that holiday failed to book. So they would have had to do that themselves. Now, to me, is that worth £10? Is that worth £20? Is that worth 30, perhaps even 40? £20 per person, realistically, is what I'm saying there, for that agent to do all of those things. And actually, would the agent have perhaps got away with discounting £10 or £20? So I'm sorry to go on there. I know I've drawn that out quite a lot, but that is a genuine thing that happened very, very recently after the customer had said, you know what? Yeah, I'll take that full £60 off and I will match your exact price. At what point is the agent doing themselves a disservice? So that is, of course, the end of my presentation. So thank you all very much. Does anybody have any questions around this topic?
I don't have any questions, but I have used some of your suggestions quite recently. I had someone ask about a trip to Boracay Island, which I'd never even heard of. Excuse me. And neither had the person who wants to go. It's a group of young lads. Two of them are 22, two of them are 24, and one of the 24-year-olds had been given the go-ahead to get this sorted out and had no idea. He was given my details by his sister, who I know. And I found the flights and I found some for them to stay, which turned out to not be what they all, as a group, wanted. They were doing a bit more sort of island hopping and everything. But he didn't know anything about Boracay. So I found out that information for him. So whilst in between we were going back and forwards, I was just sending him information about the island, what the nightlife was, what the beaches were like, what the restaurants were like. We were talking about how you got around the island, and he was saying, do they do things like mopeds? And I was saying, do you all have driving licenses? Sent him information about mopeds. So he thinks I know everything about Boracay and I know absolutely nothing. But he was loving this. He was like, oh, this is brilliant. Thank you so much. And he's now gone, right, this is brilliant. I can't do this myself. I'm going to go back to them, decide exactly what we want, because one of the guys is part Filipino and is apparently they're going to stay with his auntie at some point during the trip. And then they're going to come back to me with, you know, exactly what they want to do. But I think they're possibly going to delay it to later in the year. But I've given him a bit more info, and he now appears to go, this is exactly what I want. He said, doing this on my own is a nightmare. I don't know where to start.
So you're exactly right there, Lorna. So literally what that customer expects you to know is just more than them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You are instantly there by probably Googling this. I mean, you know, I'm not too humble to say that when you called me about this, I said, where? I had also absolutely never ever heard of this place ever. And And I've done
And
this
neither
job.
has anyone else I've
I've
spoken
done
to.
this
And when
job
I've
for
spoke to
20
him,
years. Yeah. Did not have a clue. So between us, we were pretty clueless at the beginning, weren't we? I think it's safe to say.
absolutely.
So the fact that what you've done is straightforward searches, but you put it across in a confident way, that customer automatically feels safer with
Mhm.
you instantly. And again, I mean, I'm sure that they have between them had discussions over price and things like that. But by the sounds of it, you've not had any of that back and forward regarding price at the moment, because actually what you're doing is you're building what's right for them and
The
therefore building that trust.
the price I actually got for them, he was thrilled with. It's just when he went back to the guys, they said they didn't really want to stay in one place. So I think they're going to possibly be doing more of a backpacking type holiday than he thought they were. I
Yeah.
think, but that's to be discussed. This he
Yeah.
got back to me after they'd been down the pub Friday night.
So we might be doing some B&Bs instead of villas, but again,
Yeah, and a few
that's exactly what you're there
again,
for.
like I said to him, I can sort out your boat rides across to other islands, which
Absolutely.
means you're going to be with approved suppliers, which means you're going to have more protection rather than buying your tickets off the man in the street, so to speak. And all of, and this is, he
And
just said, this is exactly what I need.
yeah, and that's exactly how you handle it. And again, what we're saying here is, the price is getting further and further towards the back of your mind because everything else is actually taking over.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thanks, Lorna. Anybody else? You are all super duper quiet today, and I do not know if that is a good thing or a bad thing, or just that we are missing our usual suspects that like to ask the questions. But none of you are unmuting yourselves, so I'm going to take that as a good thing. We'll soon see, won't we? So literally as straightforward and simple as that. For those of you that are here right now in live time, I will, of course, stop the recording and we can go off topic if we've got any questions outside of what we've just spoken about. For everybody else, I hope to see you next week.